What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, a special edition on Sunday night, October 16th, 2016. We got a full slate show for you. I have a full slated show for you. I'm not going to be joined by any guests tonight, so it's just going to be me. You're going to have to deal with listening to just my voice tonight. As the last episode, I was joined by David Poole, and we talked about UFC 204. We did a preview. We talked about a lot of UFC storylines heading into this fall. Obviously, UFC 204 took place on October 8th with Michael Bisping and Dan Henderson going head-to-head, mano-a-mano in a rematch. But first off, I want to get to the first subject in the title, and that is the Buffalo Bills. From 0-2 to 4-2, how did it all go down? What happened? What makes this team a 4-2 team in comparison to a 0-2 team? Obviously, first game, week 1, against the Baltimore Ravens, they lost 13-7. The second game was a shellacking to the New York Jets at home to go 0-2. And then the tides kind of changed a little bit. They made a move. They went with firing Greg Roman at that current point in the season. They felt like they needed to get a new, fresh breath of air on the offensive side of the ball, and their offense looked anemic the first 2 weeks of the season. The running game did not look good at all. Tyrod Taylor didn't look too good at all. And now, the last 4 weeks, playing Arizona, playing New England, playing the Los Angeles Rams, and playing the San Francisco 49ers today, their run game is probably the best in the National Football League over the last 4 weeks. They're number 1 in rushing. They're 30th in passing. So there is some cause for concern there, obviously. They're uneven on both sides of the ball. Tyrod Taylor is doing just enough to manage the game, to not turn the ball over, to put the offense in basically the hands of LaShawn McCoy, who was looking like 2012, 2013 LaShawn McCoy these last 4 weeks. And there was an article released in the Buffalo News that, this is the LaShawn McCoy that they had wanted last year. Really, LaShawn McCoy had played really well last year. Had it not been for the 4 games that he had missed during the season, he would have had over 1,000 yards, easy, and over the amount. He would have had probably almost double the amount of touchdowns that he ended up finishing with last season. But he was hurt. He was banged up throughout the season, tweaked his hamstring in training camp, and it kind of plagued him throughout his freshman year, so to speak, with the Buffalo Bills. Now he's in year 2 of this offense with the supporting cast at the offensive line, which, obviously is led by Richie Incognito in terms of run blocking. And it's really weird. The Buffalo Bills have a different dynamic to their offense where they're better run blocking than they are pass blocking. Where run blocking, from what I have seen in watching football, is a lot harder. The offensive linemen are moving laterally a lot more. They're not, just up front, man on man. The guards are pulling to the left or to the right if it's a toss. And the pieces of the offensive line are moving more on a run block than they are on a pass block. And the Buffalo Bills look better run blocking than they do pass blocking. Not that Tyrod's getting hit to the same effect that Andrew Luck is, but I will say that, he has had some moments in time where he has taken some hits, and he has gotten nicked up. And there was the moment in the Los Angeles Rams game where he dropped back, he threw a pass, it was tipped, and he had to catch it himself, and he just got completely blasted in the process. So pass blocking, there is a little bit of a miscommunication there, and run blocking, I feel like they're on firing on all cylinders. When their run blocking is lacking, LaShawn McCoy is able to pick up the extra yards that he needs on a dead play. He's doing the little things, plays that you would think would be over, where they would lose 3 yards. LaShawn McCoy gains 2. So, obviously today, 140 yards, 3 touchdowns against the San Francisco 49ers, and against his former coach, Chip Kelly, the one that famously sent him packing Now the Buffalo Bills are 4-2, second in the AFC East, really in a battle with the New England Patriots in the AFC East. The New York Jets are not where they need to be, and the Miami Dolphins did pull off an upset victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers today, but we are playing Miami next week in Miami. I'm very confident in the Buffalo Bills heading into that matchup. I'm going to pick Buffalo to win it right here, right now. 5-2, 5 wins straight. The job security of Rex Ryan was on the line. Those questions are completely gone now that he has won 4 games in a row. And whether or not the Buffalo Bills make the playoffs or not, given that they did win 4 straight games this season, I would say that is enough to keep Rex Ryan, barring a complete and total disaster where they lose every single game embarrassingly throughout the rest of the season. That would be the only scenario in which I see Rex Ryan gone. I think Rex is here to stay. He's got 3 more years left on his head coaching contract that was signed last season. He's in year 2 of 5. So I think Rex is going to get the full 5 years. I really do. I think he is at least going to get year 3. And now with Shaq Lawson coming back, with Marcel Darius coming back, we have big expectations. I have big expectations. We have big expectations as Bills fans for the Bills to be even better as the season goes on. Weeks 7, 8, and 9, their defense will definitely get some reinforcements that they don't actually really need. Their defense is playing far beyond what they had looked like in week 2. I think Rob Ryan has done a really awesome job with Lorenzo Alexander, with guys like Adolphus Washington manning the defensive line. Kyle Williams has played really well. He's played really well in comparison to years past. They've been able to do more things with him on the defensive line, moving him around. There were a lot of plays where, against the Arizona Cardinals, they went after Arizona's offense with multiple defensive fronts where Kyle Williams was one of the only 2 down linemen. So that was very interesting. Their coaching, their game planning is working. It's concise, it's to the point, and their identity, play good defense, win the turnover battle, and run the ball effectively. They've done that the last 4 weeks, and they've won every game. So very, very good stuff from the Buffalo Bills these last 4 weeks. I'm very excited for next week's game against the Miami Dolphins, the famous AFC East rivalry. It's not what it once was in the days of Jim Kelly and Dan Marino, but regardless, I'm still excited. One topic that I wanted to touch on, obviously the Buffalo Bills, as I mentioned earlier, played the San Francisco 49ers today. So if you listen to this tomorrow, they played them yesterday. But, Sunday, we'll just say. They played them today, Sunday. And a lot of the national attention, so to speak, was towards the Colin Kaepernick situation of obviously him kneeling for the anthem. And, I've been watching war movies lately. I've been watching, World War II stuff, Vietnam stuff. And obviously one of the key components in the Vietnam War was Muhammad Ali in the stance that he took as an athlete against Vietnam, electing to not go to Vietnam due to the fact that there were racial injustices towards his people, the African Americans, and his religion, the Muslim religion. And I, as a person, I've talked about how I don't really have a lot of respect for the stance in which Kaepernick, the avenue in which Kaepernick took towards protesting. Everybody has the right to protest. That's everyone's right. Everyone's entitled to that right. I give him all the credit in the world, to be honest, for at least having the guts to stand up for something as an individual, as a human being. He felt like something was wrong in his eyes in the world, and he did, stand and take a stance. Actually, he didn't really stand. He kneeled or sat in taking a stance. But that's my point. The principle in which Colin Kaepernick as an individual, as the principle in which he wanted to fight against the oppression in today's society towards African Americans and minorities. I understand that, and there is realism to that. But in terms of the avenue in which he took to do that, I disagree with the avenue in which he selected in kneeling or sitting, denouncing the American flag, which, if it wasn't for the American flag, if it wasn't for what the American flag stood for, which was freedom, that's the first word that comes to my mind whenever I am at an NHL game or an NFL game or a Major League Baseball game, and I stand for the national anthem. There's so many intangibles to that moment. I'm standing for the national anthem, appreciating the fact that there are men and women in this country that fight for me to be free, to wake up every morning with air in my lungs, have my bowl of cereal in the morning, go to work or go about my day, drive, do whatever I want, live my day-to-day, everyday life. If it wasn't for those people, I wouldn't have those luxuries. And in the moment of being at a professional sporting event, where you, as a customer, as a fan, are standing in, appreciating the fact that you live in this country that lets you enjoy the entertainment society that our country has with the sports, with every single sports league. And for the life of me, I have a tough time understanding how a player in the NFL could take that stance when he is one of a very small population that is blessed enough physically and athletically to play in the NFL, of course, but to play in the NFL in the United States of America, in the USA's football league, and he wouldn't have that luxury if he was in any other country. Maybe Canada, but other than that, I mean, the principle in which he is expressing his freedom of speech, I understand it, and I do agree with it in a sense. There have been, shootings and things like that are not conducive to what we are trying to fix as a nation. We're trying to fix oppression of minorities. We're trying to be one America. We've come so far with peaks and valleys that there is realism to the fact that we have taken a few steps back, and I understand his motivation in doing so. I just don't understand the avenue. I don't agree with the avenue in which he is electing to use his freedom of speech right. It denounces our country and what our country has done to protect its people, and it doesn't sit well with me. There's moments where the opening day was 9/11 and there was players kneeling, or and I can't accept that. I was 9 years old when I saw two planes hit the World Trade Center. I was at my elementary school, Charles Upson, and I was in 4th grade. And to see that as a kid, that was the first time I had ever seen carnage or chaos, and have it actually be real, have it actually be reality. That was the first reality television that I really saw, and it was traumatizing for me. It really was, and for a lot of kids that are my age now, 24, 25, and were my age then in my grade, that were 9, 10, it was really traumatic for a lot of us. And that's kind of why we have the stance that we do, because that was such a special time, because we had faced such adversity and tragedy, and in the face of that adversity and that tragedy, we all rallied together as one, where black, white, didn't matter. We were all American in that moment. We all felt hurt for the people that were in that building that lost their lives. And I just think that we need to reflect on that moment, reflect on the fact that we did rally together once. We'll rally together again. I respect the principle and why he is electing to use his right of freedom of speech. Just the avenue in denouncing the flag, I have a tough time accepting that as a man and as an American. That is the first edition of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast today. Tune in for my reaction to UFC 204.